Good evening. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller, live from the Man Cave this evening. I am joined by some special guests to discuss the upcoming fixture this Sunday, 2 p.m. at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where we take on the Villa. All right, so first, let's go round the room. You all right, Dave?
I'm really well. I haven't been on since the Crystal Palace reaction show that we did when after the game when we reacted to the result, and we were top of the league then. And ever since then, what has possibly gone wrong? Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, it's got a bit wrong since I met you at the lane, hasn't it? But there we go. John was trying to wind me up on Twitter earlier, saying that I always start shows late. There's a good reason why, and I can see it from the initial viewing numbers. We should have delayed. You're right, HJ.
Yeah, I was wanting to see if Davo was going to take the blame for the fact that we've lost our last two games, since he was in England for both of them. So maybe now that he's buggered off home, we might start winning again. But I'm all right. I've had a relatively crappy week, but Spurs are there to turn things around, as always.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Spurs will ruin your weekend at the best of times. So
no, they won't. No, you have to expect the worst. Then they'll never ruin anything.
So when it comes to the predictions, you'll be predicting a defeat, so you're pleasantly surprised. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, plus they'll beat us anyway. But yeah, anyway, go on.
Also joining a couple of Villa fans on the show tonight with massive Brummy accents. You're right, Marlon and Carter. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah,
Good.
All good. Not Brummies though. We're from South Coast, Bognor Regis.
Yeah. Well, and look, any banter that I was going to give you.
So Corner makes you the Brummy for the show.
Yeah, that's what I said before.
Yeah. I've already been getting pelters from the Villa fans based on your myth that you're...
Based on the fact you sound like you're from Birmingham.
I do not. Come on.
Hi, John.
I do not. I was going to take the mickey a bit more, but I'd recently learned that Carter is a martial arts master, so I'm a bit scared.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to, part the shanter there.
The screen technique, yeah.
You what?
He said he hasn't mastered the through the screen technique yet.
We've been trying as well, Carter. Don't worry. We've been trying.
Wax on, wax off, Carter. Wax on, wax off. So here we go. Previewing Tottenham Villa this Sunday. Tottenham Stadium. I'm there. I'm very excited. I know John's there as well. Marlon, you going to the game, or you're not?
No, nightmare getting hold of away tickets for us. To be fair, you got to have gone all 18 last season to be in with a shout. You know what I mean? And then because Brentford, you only get 1,200 or something, don't you? And so it's basically them 1,200 that are guaranteed your first lot of tickets, and then the others that made all the rest of the games. We're season ticket holders, so we do the homes, but aways we get to about 4 or 5, and that's usually where someone's gifted us some tickets.
That's a long way up.
Same for us.
It's a long way up to Birmingham for you, isn't it? Every
350-mile round trip.
That is dedication, especially as you've been terrible for most of recent history.
Yeah. I mean,
that is some dedication.
Yeah, I was 7, 8 when we won the league and European Cup. Other than that, it's been a couple of League Cups, and
which is why I'm wearing this shirt in tribute tonight, because this is the 2 seasons that you won it.
At least you've seen Villa win the league. Apart from Dave, none of us were around in 51, 61 to see us win the league. Right, Dave?
That's right. And 1901 when we won the FA Cup. We're
1957 for us. See, I've never seen us win the FA Cup. We've won it 7 times, but not since 57.
Okay, yeah. Apparently you've won the European Cup a couple of times as well, haven't you?
Once. Forest won it twice.
See, I was getting my small Midlands clubs mixed up. It happens from time to time. It's good. It's good to have you on. Thanks for sparing the time. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come and talk football. I think we all can pinpoint the moment it went wrong for Spurs recently. So lost the last 2 games, but this was probably the defining moment. Half time. Yeah. Davo, talk us through it.
So, for very, very good personal reasons, I didn't get to the Chelsea game until late. I literally walked into the stadium. We were 2-0 up with the VAR review. The goal is ruled out. 2 players sent off. 2 pivotal players injured. We lose 4-1. I've done my job once more. And those sat around me once again thanked me for my presence in the stadium. And ever since then, it's all gone terribly wrong. I can only apologise.
It has, hasn't it? I just don't. HG, is this the beginning of the end of the unraveling of Spurs season? I mean, we're threadbare, aren't we? We've got what, 7, 8 players out.
I mean, David will tell you the beginning of the end was 2001. But beginning of the end, no. Do I want December to be over? Do I wish that we all had COVID and somehow we could get games postponed? Absolutely. Let's do the Arteta defense, as they would say. But no, I'm like, you never know with Spurs. I mean, even if we were fully fit, I still wouldn't be massively confident because it's Spurs. Like, so the fact that we've lost 7? Is it 7 players out through injury?
I think so.
It's and then the 2 more with suspension. It's going to be tough, but like, you just hope that we kind of end up on a roll of some kind. But we've got difficult games. Villa's not easy. Man City after that. West Ham after that. I mean, they hate us more than anything. So yeah, it's the worst time. Like if you're gonna lose players for 2 months, you don't want those 2 months to be December and January, and that's basically where we are. So, but I'm not going to be negative. I'm just going to expect the worst.
Marlon and Carter, do you think it's the ideal time for you to play Spurs? Your away form, your home form's amazing. Your away form's a little bit patchy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Inconsistent away from home, solid at home. I agree that it is the right time to play you with the people you've got out, especially Maddison. He was the key for me. I was dreading playing you guys because he's just on fire. I've had to take him out of my dream team and everything now because obviously he's out for a while. I'm sure everybody has. But yeah, there's him. Son is always a problem for us, always. I don't like playing against him. But it's going to be an interesting game. There's going to be goals because we haven't got a clean sheet in us. And we both play like that high line. So I just think we've got a better chance of exploiting that than you have because your defence looks shifty to me with what you've got available. And we've got
I think there's one too many F's in that, Marlon, isn't there?
Well, Diaby and Watkins running in
It's
behind.
missing a T.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think with the high line, I think we can catch Son offside, but I don't know. I can see Villa coming out 2-1, but I don't like guessing that our team's going to win because I always feel as though I'm tempting fate.
Well, I'll hold your predictions till the end. Davo, Marlon described it as a shifty defence. How would you describe it?
We'd have to change some F's and T's around, and then we'd get to where we are. I think Destiny's back this weekend, which is very, very good news. And you have got probably a central defensive pairing of Davis and Dyer, which doesn't scream pace, does it? And Cheeseheads and John's exactly right there. Watkins, who you remember, Coy's day to Dan wouldn't pay the 35 million quid to Brentford to get him into to our team. Went off to Villa, and he's really been transformed since Unai.
I didn't think we were ever really in for him, Dave. To be honest,
he's an Arsenal fan.
There you go.
Yeah, well, so is Harry Kane apparently, and Matt Doherty. Not that we're bothered about that. Anyway, and so is my mum. But anyway, so basically, where am I on that? Anyway, look, the defence looks dodgy. That's what we're worried about, and also the midfield. We could end up with some kind of last Jerry Francis-esque midfield of Fox, Sinton, Dominguez, and Anderson. So God knows what we're putting out there as well. I'm sure we'll be getting onto that as well.
Yeah. HG, the lack of pace is the biggest worry, right, at defence?
Yes and no. I think to me is whether we can keep it in midfield. Because if we can, then it won't matter so much because the balls over the top won't be hitting us. That's where we struggled against Wolves last time out. We just couldn't keep the ball in midfield. We couldn't progress it. Wolves, they pressured us and they got a lot of joy. I mean, the goals may have come right at the end, but they were coming. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a surprise. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, from what I've seen of Villa, they tend to flood the midfield as well. They've got the two defensive midfielders. They've got, well, I think on that graphic you showed, is it Tielemans and McGinn that kind of start wide, but not really. They're also quite central. And so yeah, it's that to me is the thing. Yes, and we're all worried about Watkins over the top or Diaby, taking on a fullback. But I think it's always going to be the way that we play and the way that Villa seem to play. It's all about the midfield. If you win that central area, maybe we won't have to worry too much about Davies and Dyer at centre back.
Yeah, well, I mean, their centre backs a little bit. Their centre backs are there to be got at, aren't they? Surely, Konsa and Towers at centre back.
None of us really rate Pau Torres, but Konsa is a quality centre back. I don't mind Konsa at all, and he is a Spurs fan, so I have to say that now. But it's. I mean, the strength with Villa seems to be that they can keep the ball. I think when they progress the ball from the back, they tend to push the fullbacks really high up the pitch and have Kamara and Douglas Luiz kind of on the sides acting as the pseudo fullbacks. But they're a very good side, and their results show it. So it's not going to be easy. But I'm not as much as I expect the worst. I still think Spurs can win the game. I just think that if you were to play the game 100 times. Right now, Spurs might win 10, and that's just a sad situation.
I mean, it's a difficult one. How did you get on with that little challenge I posed you to try and amalgamate the Spurs and the Villa 11? Did you do it?
You asked me to do that. Well, we play different systems, which makes it pretty difficult to do. But yeah, I mean, I look at some of those players. It's weird because if you took Spurs' best team, then it's a fairer fight. I don't look at many of those players and think, I really would like to see them in Spurs' squad. But the key to that Villa side is that they're a team and that the manager knows what he's doing. And I think I'm sure the Villa fans will correct me, but I think Luca Dean, when he signed, Villa fans weren't massively happy with him and they thought he was a downgrade on what they had before. Is that true, guys?
I wouldn't say a downgrade. I mean, we let Matt Targett go to Newcastle and brought in Luca Dean. I wasn't impressed. I think we paid about 25 million for him or something, which I thought was an awful lot. He was one of Gerrard's. But now we've signed that last January. We signed Moreno, who was excellent the second half of last season, but he's been out injured. He's back on the bench now. He was on the bench against Fulham, and so he's back in full training now. So he might make an appearance on Sunday, but he won't start the game. But Dean has actually been very good this season. So I can't really fault him. It's nice to have a bit of competition there.
And what about Leon Bailey, if I may ask? Because if you look at the goal scoring list and stuff like that, I think he's about second on the list in the assists and things like that. And he's been very injury prone since you bought him a couple of years ago. How's he gone?
He's quite inconsistent. He has like one or two good games every now and then, but most of the games he's just average, and sometimes he's just poor.
He is,
yeah. Like Spurs signing.
He is inconsistent. When he's on form, he's on fire.
Yeah.
In other games, he goes missing.
Right.
And his head drops. If he doesn't get the run of the ball, he suddenly goes out of the game. He loses interest. If you watch him, if the first time he picks up the ball, he makes a decent run with it, you guarantee he'll have a good game. If he doesn't do anything with that first touch of the ball, he loses interest.
Yeah.
Benteke used to be the same when he played for us.
Oh, there's a name from the past. Oh, I mean, I do believe that Caller wanted us to buy Pau Torres. You were banging the Torres drum a couple of summers ago.
I think I wanted to ask Marlon and Carter what they think of Torres so far.
I like him. I think he's one that's going to take a little bit of time to settle in, get used to the pace of the Premier League. That's the one thing. When you're at the match watching what's going on off the ball and everything, he just seems he's not up to pace yet with it. I don't think he's quite got his head round how intense it is in the Premier League. But he's getting there. I mean, he's definitely the way we play that high line now for the offside trap. He's bang on point. He knows where the others are now, and he's got that part of it. But it's just seems to get. If a striker runs past him, he may as well not be on the pitch. He doesn't recover. He doesn't see it coming. He ends up wrong-footed. You know, he just doesn't
Yeah.
Get that pace when someone's running at him.
Bit like Eric Dyer.
What do you think, Torres?
I mean, I like him. I'll give him that. He hasn't made many faults for us, but every time I see the lineup an hour before game, I'd always be buzzing if I saw Carlos on there in the starting 11. I really do like Carlos over Torres. No disrespect to Torres, but I just like him more. I think he's just all round better.
But there is also massive competition for places for Torres, because there he is.
I knew where you were going.
Okay.
Here he is. Well, and gents, do you think that Longley is the final piece of the jigsaw for you to go on to glory?
No.
No, I mean he was brought in as sort of a last minute thing because Mings suddenly done his ACL, and he was there to make up the numbers. Longley came in, but you know, who are we to question what Unai Emery's doing? You know what I mean? I think gone are the day. I don't even see it in the Villa fans now saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have bought him. He's right." Everybody's just like zipping their mouth now and saying, "Okay, Unai wants him, then he must be there for a reason." You know, we just got so much faith in our manager for the first time in forever. So I don't know. I mean, if Unai thinks he is, then yeah, but I haven't seen much from him. But then he hasn't played much. He hasn't had many minutes.
Which is interesting, given that Unai Emery's reputation was shot to pieces when he left Arsenal, really, in this country anyway.
He had to follow Wenger in there, though, didn't he? Whoever took that job. It was like Moyes when he replaced Ferguson at United. He was dead before he got started. No chance.
I think he's a good manager. Obviously, he became a bit of a meme with Good Evening. Does he still do that?
What, does he still speak with a Spanish accent? Yes.
No. Does he start with Good Evening at the start of everything?
Good evening. Yeah, he does, yeah.
So what was your initial reaction, Villa gang, when you heard the news that he was going to be your manager? How did you feel at that time?
Do you know, the funny thing is, there's this guy, right? There's a little bit of a backstory, right? There's a guy called Andy Dale who wrote a book called Just 14, because he was 14 when we won the league in 1981. But Villa also only used 14 players that season. So it's a bit of a play on words, right? But they're making a film of that book now. And Carter is going to be in the film. And he was in the trailer. We filmed a promotional trailer in and around Villa Park with a few ex-Villa players that were part of the 81-82 team. Tony Morley, Gary Shaw, Peter With, a few others. And then we went to this film premiere night at a pub in Stourbridge with all of the 81 and 82 European Cup winning team. And we had this meal and we had this show and everything. And while we were there, we were sitting down watching the trailer. And then as soon as it finished, Brian Little, who was there, suddenly his phone went off and he said, "Oh, we've just got Unai Emery." So we found out from Brian Little, who'd literally just been informed directly from the club, because he's a club ambassador anyway. And that's how we found out about Unai Emery. And they were all buzzing about it. So we were all buzzing about it.
I didn't know who he was.
He didn't know who he was. But no, I was happy if they were happy. So, yeah.
What was your first thoughts about it, HG?
About what Emery showing for Villa? Well, I mean, Villa have been spending money for a while. They spent money under Gerrard. They've got owners that are willing to flash whatever cash they have. And it felt like the manager's what was missing. I mean, they kind of rolled the dice a little bit to get Gerrard. That didn't work out quite clearly. But Emery has won trophies repeatedly. I mean, should be happy that he never did it at Arsenal. But it was, weirdly enough, Emery's team that Arteta won the FA Cup with. So it's weird. I feel like the reason why Emery failed at Arsenal is more to do with the fact that they were having issues with player recruitment. And I think the guy that they had in charge back then is the guy that's just been fired from Ajax for like buying players that were, he had like interest in a different agency and basically was paying himself with club money.
Was it Paratici?
No.
Okay. I get confused.
Daniel Levy, surely, Davo, isn't it always his fault no matter what's going on?
All roads lead to.
Exactly. But no, it's so like I didn't expect Villa to be as good as they are, but I'm not sure Villa fans thought that either. You know, because it happened relatively quickly that he turned things around, and at the end of last season they went on a load of wins and pipped us to the Conference League spot, and they've continued it this year. So it's amazing how like the strength of a manager isn't necessarily down to their results. It can be in other places too, and he's going to be at Villa for a while. I don't. It's one of those things that like until Man United get it sorted out, and any manager that has a good run in the Premier League, especially, will be linked with that. And I don't think Ten Hag's going to sort it out. But they'll be looking for a manager, and then I suspect the press will then go into overdrive about which club has a manager that maybe they shouldn't have or that should go to Man United. But I think Emery's settled, and I think he's happy, and he knows he's got the backing of pretty much everyone at the club. So why would you jack that away for a few extra million? I don't think he needs the money. So it's a pretty good time, I imagine, to be a Villa fan.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I've always thought they haven't spent that much money, actually. I looked into this. And now they've spent considerably less than Spurs in the last 3 years, but apparently we don't spend any money, according to Davo. So what do I know?
We did drag in 100 million for Jack, though, didn't we?
Second, Marlon.
Yeah.
We brought in 100 million for Jack, though.
Grealish, yeah, exactly. When you look at your net spend, it's not. I mean, Dave would not be impressed with your net spend.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we sold Carney Chukwuemeka to Chelsea for 20 million.
That's a steal.
And we've just got rid of like Cameron Archer and people like that. We've just got rid of 3 youth team players on where we've sold them with a buyback option, which is good business rather than loaning them out until their contract expires. And we've got 50 million for 3 of them this season. So that's 170 million in youth team players over the past couple of years.
Okay. Well, if we look at the league table, what does that show us? It shows us that we are, 4th, and they are 5th. Similar sort of record, although lost an extra game. Good goal difference. Scoring goals all over the place. Marlon, who's your danger man? Obviously, Ollie Watkins. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, Diaby. And McGinn's been on fire lately.
We were linked with him, weren't we, in the summer?
Yeah, he gets linked with someone every summer. Who do you think's our danger man? Dougie Lewis. Yeah, he's been on form. He can score direct from a corner. He did that twice last season. He's now our penalty taker as well. He's worth having in your dream team, actually. He's cheap, Dougie Lewis, and he'll get you goals.
Can I ask you guys, like it says here you've lost 3 games, and I know that Liverpool and Newcastle were 2. I remember those. Who was the 3rd game you lost?
Forest.
Oh.
2-1 against Forest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was away, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
We're hit and miss away.
I mean, if Forest beat you, then I guess there is hope for us. I mean, like it's a weird. I mean, that's a weird result because given how Villa have been at home and losing at Anfield and losing at Newcastle, I mean, that was first day of the season as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5-1 Newcastle beat us.
So, like, I don't know. It feels like if you've had 2 defeats in 11, and one of them was Anfield away, that Forest one does kind of stand out. But you'd have to imagine it's the exception that proves the rule. You're actually quite good. Because I mean, I don't know. Have you played City yet?
No, we've got them.
December
the 3rd, I think.
No. It's like mid-December. We got Bournemouth.
Okay. Oh, Bournemouth first game. Yeah, Man City's our 2nd game in December. It's like a Tuesday night or something at home.
And also, like Dad says, we're inconsistent away. Like everyone says, Spurs away is it's always a tough game. But as Villa have been on recent times, if we can just nick something, I think like that could boost our confidence up a little bit, so we can maybe push for a couple of results during December, where we got like Arsenal, Man City, or your big 6. And
so basically, Carter, you're saying that Tottenham is a bit of confidence boosting for you as you go against the big boys. Is that what you're saying?
If we get a result.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, we're happy to oblige.
Thank you.
I think you got every chance. I mean, the league table is tighter than tight, isn't it? Let's be honest. 28, 27, 26, 25. I think I read something. Every team could end up on the same points this weekend. 30 points, which would be the first time. Man City can't end up on 30 points, so I don't know how that works. But I did read something about it. It's incredibly tight up there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Aston Villa get 5 points for a win and Spurs to get 4 points for a win. But apart from that, that stat is bang on.
No, it's just something I read. Don't worry about it. It was probably
my favourite quote for the last 2 weeks. If I hear one more Spurs fan say, "If at the start of the season you'd have had us at third or fourth with this amount of points, I'd have bitten your hand off." We've lost the last 2 games. We've got 8,000 players out, so the trend's not looking good.
But we know why. You're back in Australia now. It's fine. It'll all be sorted.
Yeah,
look at that. He's got a Villa chair. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, look at that. That's a proper Villa chair.
It is, yeah.
So, Marlon, I'm reliably informed that our new chief scout, Lang, he came from you. Am I wrong, HG? How did I...
2 syllables, dude. 2.
Langer. Oh, like Bernard. That's right.
Yeah, he looks like Bernard Langer a bit too. But
yeah,
go on.
Get a picture up.
He came from you very recently, actually. There he is.
He did, yeah.
So we want a bit of intel because he's only just landed at Spurs. What's he going to do for us, and what was the best thing he did for Villa?
Whoa.
Well, we bought in
long play.
Martinez and was the other one?
Cash,
yeah.
Yeah, he bought Watkins, Cash, and Martinez in for Dean Smith. So you can't fault him on that.
But he also bought in Gerrard.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Coutinho, who was obviously washed as we saw.
Yeah, but I think Gerrard was more Christian Perslow because he had a relationship with him from Liverpool and Coutinho as well. I think that's more on Perslow's door.
I feel that, but it still sort of fell under. I don't know. I mean, this guy can get deals done if you want someone. He'll go and get them for you. Depends what you're planning on doing. Do you think you're going to buy anyone in January or anything?
I think we'll have to.
Yes, January the 31st. Just that's how we roll.
I think
I don't think he will. I don't think I can see us not signing anyone.
Really?
Unless
if a decent backup goalkeeper comes available, someone better than Olsen, then we should.
We've got one. We can have Lloris.
Yeah, have Lloris.
We've got 4 keepers in our 25-man squad.
He sulks a bit, doesn't he?
He's about 38, isn't he?
Yeah,
but if you just want someone to sit on the bench who's played for France at the last World Cup last year, I mean
So Carter, if you're saying that being age 38 is pretty old, you've just depressed me for the day. Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, I know. We want like 3 or 4 seasons of that out of them at least.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get about a year out of Hugo before he returns to Nice.
He'll take your money for 3 or 4 seasons. No problem.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
It would be kind of interesting if Villa had like the World Cup winning goalkeeper last time and the time before on their books.
Yeah,
that would be something. But yeah, I mean, you look at Villa's squad. I mean, who would play striker if Watkins got injured?
Yeah, see, that's another one for me. I was worried that we didn't because we sold Cameron Archer, who I wanted to see more of. So we've got this John Duran kiddie, this Colombian he's only 19.
He scored 4 goals for us.
He has scored 4 goals this season. He looks lively, looks good. He's a big old unit. Like I say, he's only 19. He's fast. So he's our backup, but very inexperienced. We signed him a year ago, and he moved to the UK then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's probably another find of Johan Langer, I guess.
Yeah, you'll save a prayer hoping that Duran doesn't get in instead of Watkins.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I just hope Watkins stays fit. Otherwise,
well, he does. He hasn't got the best injury record, has he?
Well, last season he didn't get injured.
I think he's going to do his ACL against Spurs.
Oh, cheers.
All right, you can join Buendia and Mings then, because we lost them 2.
That's not very nice. Come on, you can't upset a 12-year-old like that.
Dyer's got his card marked, 100%.
He won't get anywhere near it. So I don't know. If that's the only marking he'll be doing is the card, and that'll be about it for Dyer.
So Langer, HG, you're the the European sports correspondent for the Cheese Room podcast. Langer, what do you think of him? I'm interested to know.
Is it because I live in Europe and I live on the mainland that makes me the expert, or the
By
fact I can
default,
say
yeah.
the fact I can say Langer? Look, Spurs needed someone. It's a bit weird with Spurs because we've gone from having a relatively defined, Paratici is the sporting director, the scout guy, the man in charge of transfers, and then Daniel Levy's brought in Scott Munn to basically be Daniel Levy in all but extra pair of glasses, and now Johan Langer's come in to do, I guess, what Paratici was doing. And, with Spurs, it still seems a bit muddled. So, like, if he was the one making the calls for the transfers, the good transfers that Villa have made in the last few years, and they've made a few, then it's great. But I don't know, like maybe I'm negative. Everyone knows I'm negative. But if I'm Villa, right? Oh yeah, you take our man for a couple of years, and then on the sly, he'll just Agent Langer will go and destroy everything at Spurs, and he'll get a job back at Villa again. Like it just seems, it seems a bit awkward that you can do this. You've spent years building a squad, and then Spurs come along and say, "What? We'll pay you double." I don't know. Like I'm nervous that is he going to do better than what Paratici did? Possibly, possibly not. I felt like Paratici was doing pretty well.
Paratici was doing very well in my eyes.
Yeah, so it just feels like we've looked around and said, well, Villa have got better quickly. Is it the players that they've got? Is it the manager they've got? Well, we can't get the manager, so we'll try for this bloke. So it's like, as far as Spurs fans are aware, it's probably still up in the air a bit. But yeah, I want to be positive. I mean, it should have been me. I should have had the job. I look better in a flipping whatever you've got, a turtleneck than he does. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like when we sign someone on January the 1st from MLS that Davo's never heard of, then I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's weird. We don't know.
Davo, go on. I'll give you the final word on this one.
Look, it's our newest new structure since our last new structure, which is a new structure before the last new structure. That's how it rolls at Tottenham. And, I mean, the fact that, I'm not a big fan of the old brown jacket and the black turtleneck, but that's another point. The fact of the matter is that Paratici, whether he's a consultant or not to the club anymore, he couldn't stay on in the role that he was doing because he was done for naughtiness. And now we're in a situation where Levy has always said that he wanted to move away from footballing matters and focus on property matters. And now we've got Scott Munn in. He runs the whole footballing operation. That's his job. There was a gap in what we were looking to do because the guys at Paratici got in Steinson, Gambini or something, his name. They've all gone. And
he did a good job.
And Ange pointed out that a club of our size needed to have that kind of technical role. Dan's big into data, spreadsheets, and things like that because he wants to copy Brentford and Brighton. So he's got in this guy who probably knows his way around an algorithm. And let's see what happens. Obviously the binary outcome is whether we get good signings in, we buy some younger players who make it into the first team and do well, and it's as simple as that. So we just have to see what happens. But the reality is that he still comes back to whatever Ange wants, we give him, right? Because you've gone.
So can I ask the Villa guys, how much was Diaby for you?
It's about 50 million.
Yeah, I think he, with all the add-ons, about 54, I think.
Okay, I mean that's
expensive,
fair.
But it turns out to be well worth it.
Yeah, because I watched it. I live in Austria. You guys don't know that, but so I watch a lot of German football. So I knew he was good, right? And so I was kind of surprised that Villa had the clout to go and get him because he's looking to make the next step up. And was he 24, 25, kind of getting to that?
24.
Yeah. So it was surprising, but great news for Villa that he went. But if that's the biggest deal, Spurs have, I guess, relatively recently been looking to make deals in that bracket quite often. Because Kulusevski was around that when you add everything in. Romero was about 50 mil when we signed him. Richarlison, we don't talk about. But Spurs are doing that kind of level, and so if you look at the better buyers that Langer may have got, I mean, if you take Diaby out of it, they're all in that, 30 mil? Like Watkins was 32.
Yeah, Leon Bailey, Emi Buendia, they were all around 30. Watkins was 28, I think. Mings was 28. All around about 30.
So between 20 and 30 million, then, as you'd say, is Langer's
20,
sweet spot.
20 to 30 million pound players everywhere, yeah?
Yeah, but don't forget, see, we weren't competing in Europe or anything at the time. You know, you guys have sort of been up in that top 6 bracket for quite a while. So your transfer window is a lot different to ours.
Well, it's about if you're operating in the 20 to 30 million market, you have to do it well. You know, it's like if you buy Steven Bergwijn but you don't buy Jared Bowen, for example, that's not operating very well in the 20 to 30 million market.
But see, we got people like Kamara for nothing.
Yeah,
and he's been excellent for us. Tielemans came in for nothing.
Yeah,
and he's improving every game for us.
Stop it! You're undermining all Dave's arguments.
How much did you pay for Morrow?
45.
45, yeah.
45. We got
He'll be
done
good
there.
now,
He's
He's done very well this season. He's really impressed this season because everyone said that right fullback is going to be a nightmare, but I think Ange and the team have done a great job with him this season. But it's also our goalkeeper as well, because some people were moaning about Levy going for the cheap option and not getting in Raya, and you know, look at the success that he's been. He's been great. Our goalkeeper.
It's quality, to be fair, yeah.
I'll tell you what, a good one that you guys signed was that Bentancur.
Oh. Well, he was going to you.
Yeah, I know he
got
was.
In there. Yeah,
I know. I was gutted when he
went. He visited Birmingham and thought
he didn't cost a fortune.
Do better than this.
No,
Bentancur was less than the 20 to 30 million. He's 18 million.
No, he wasn't. Not with add-ons. He wasn't.
No, he was. He was that cheap, Cooler.
I don't look at add-ons.
Yeah, add-ons for Spurs. What if we win a trophy? Like, what is an add-on at Spurs?
Appearance based.
Appearance based.
Money saved, then, isn't it?
Yeah, quite. But no, like Bentancur has been much better than any of us thought he was going to be. I mean, genuinely, he is our best midfielder. I mean, is that true? I mean, you guys think that too, Davo and Cooler?
No, Madison is.
No.
I think Bentancur. I honestly, when those two came on in that game, I can't remember which one it was, the home game. They both came on pretty near each other. Kulusevski looked slow and laboured, and Bentancur, you could see the ball at his feet, and you could see his control. And I thought I liked him straight away. Right,
yep.
Kulusevski took me a while to warm up to him, and I'm now not as warmed up to him as I used to be honest. But anyway. And but I think he's a class midfield player. I'm just worried he's not going to be the same player, or it's going to take him a long while. Everyone's talking about Van der Vaart at Liverpool, now back to what he was after his injury, which I think was an ACL as well. It's taken him a long time to get back to where he is, so that's a worry for me. But I do think he's a proper good Tottenham midfield player, great skill, good control, and Maddison is also a proper Tottenham player as well.
A proper Tottenham player as opposed to being a proper football
He was
player.
a great signing. You did well.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go to Newcastle, to be fair, but that was a very good signing.
Yeah, no, Newcastle decided to sign a player who's up for a load of betting irregularities instead.
They took Barnes, didn't they? They took Harvey Barnes.
Actually did.
Yeah, they got Harvey Barnes as well.
By the way, Bentancur, the correction police are here. 19 million plus 6 million in add-ons. There he goes, which puts him
19
nicely
million then.
No,
it's not 20
euros. That's euros, by the way. That's not like
it puts him safely within the parameters of Dave's 20 to 30 million pound window.
Unlike Daniel Levy, I don't look at add-ons. I just look at that base price.
Well, that's why you are a basic man.
Well, that's why it suits my argument.
Right. Apparently, Lee Hendry's been trapping off Marlon, former midfielder, of course. He feels it will be a big ask for the club to finish top 6 this season. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think top 6
When
is
did
on?
he say that?
Recently, according to the run sheet, which I had prepared for me earlier by the none other than Dave.
I know, I saw it, but I was thinking, did he really say that recently, or did he say it at the beginning of the season when asked for his prediction?
He said it on the Cammy and Ben Proper Football podcast.
He did.
All right, okay. I mean, he can be quite negative anyway. We've met Lee a couple of times, haven't we?
Yeah, well,
he can be quite negative.
We've got one like that. He's called Dave O. He lives in Australia.
I mean, he suffers depression and things like that. So he's he can be a bit negative. I'm surprised he said that because he's normally actually thinks that we're going to win everything.
But, I mean,
He said if you finish 7th or 8th, it's a great season. Is what he said.
Depends if you pick up some silverware while you're at it. I mean, if we won the FA Cup and finished 7th, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
So would I if we did that.
Or even the Europa Conference League.
Oh God, bloody hell!
No, that's not a competition.
It doesn't matter, does it? It puts you in the Europa.
Yeah,
He
that's
wants to
right.
be in the Europa. You ought to be in the Champions League. Aim high, Marlon.
Of course we do, but if you finish 7th and you get that, then you're not going to complain, are you?
But who's most likely to win the Europa League with Emery in charge?
Emery.
Well,
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like
whoever Emery's in charge of.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Getting
Correct.
Villa in the Europa League is like a guaranteed ticket to the Champions League.
I mean,
It's not like,
In it.
I think that maybe what Lee Hendry is getting at is that, you know, right now we've got a top
let's
five.
put my
that are
beer
within-
up while you're talking.
Fine.
I'll be right back.
We've got a top five that are relatively close to each other. Certainly when it comes to results, right? We're winning 8 games out of 12. That's pretty good, at least. And then you've got Man United, who tend to win or lose, but if you win a lot, you'll be up there. Chelsea might turn things around now that they've had a couple of decent results. Brighton look to be going the wrong way, but then you start to think, well, you know, top 8 is probably, I mean, Chelsea weren't in that last year. Like, for Villa to get 6th, they'd have to beat 2 of those teams. Villa, you'd expect to be in Europe for the rest of the season. Maybe Man United won't be in any Europe once Christmas is done. So I can kind of understand why he says that Villa would have to have a really good year to finish top 6. But I haven't watched much of the Conference League, but from what I've seen, the teams seem to be very much rotated. That it's, you know, you basically have a first team that play the Prem games, and for Villa, the Conference League games have been more of a backup 11. I don't know if that's completely true, but it certainly felt like that from watching a little bit.
It did. It's getting less and less. We seem to be stopping sort of 3 or 4 out now.
Okay.
It seems to be as we're progressing and getting a bit closer. And after we slipped up in the first game, we seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously. But you've kind of summed it up quite well. I get where he's coming from. I get where you're coming from about finishing in that top 6 being difficult, because there is a lot of competition up there. There's 8 or 9 teams when you start looking at them that could all finish in top 5, top 6. But since Emery's come in, which is like 1 year and 2 weeks ago or something, no one's picked up more points than us, apart from Man City.
Yeah.
So if he does that for another 6 months, then we are up there, because we're the second best team in the country.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, home form especially. Like, maybe you haven't played anyone amazing at home yet, but you've got to win those games.
Yeah, we've won 13 games in a row at home.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. I think like Spurs may have done that when we left White Hart Lane. That final season, we may have won something approaching that in a row, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often. I don't remember City doing that too often. There's always a draw or something in there. But
I mean, our first 2 home games in December are Man City and Arsenal, so it's not going to last forever.
Well, hopefully you'll win both of those.
Yeah,
because that would help us.
we never.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's getting to the point now. Like, Spurs fans, especially with the Chelsea game against Man City that was before the break, there was kind of arguments between Spurs fans about what result benefited Spurs the most. Because some Spurs fans, maybe the slightly deluded ones, were thinking, well, if Man City drop points, then whatever tiny chance we have exists for a bit longer. And then you've got other Spurs fans who are thinking, hey, we can't have Chelsea win, because if Chelsea win, then they'll catch us. And there's always that negativity around Spurs that we will get caught at some point. So it's interesting that, like, you know, if Villa are at home against the 2 of the 3 best teams in the league, then to me, I want Villa to win. I mean, I certainly don't want the away team to win, when you know it's the first game of the 2 in that season anyway. So it's like
one of them, isn't it? It's like you know, sometimes, I mean, we go into being Villa, we go into season thinking, right, we're not competing with the top 6, so hopefully they'll just win all their games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then they're beating all of our opposition. And it's like the other week when Newcastle played Arsenal, we didn't actually know who we wanted to win. Because did we want to push that gap between us and Newcastle from 5th to 6th or 7th or wherever they were? Do we want to build that, or do we want to be chasing them ones above us? You know, and you don't know which ones. And then sort of Newcastle won, and then all of a sudden we bloody lost to Forest.
Yeah.
So we've missed the opportunity, and now we're sucked into that again. But luckily, Newcastle have been messing about again since then, so we've sort of got a few points above them.
I mean, Tottenham's opportunity has always been when we qualify for Champions League and things like that. The other bigger boys and the well-resourced boys have had a bad season, right? And I mean, you look at last season. You know, Chelsea had a shocker. Liverpool only came good towards the end of the season, put a run of form in, right? Yeah. And so now we're in a situation where our opportunity was that we got no European football, and therefore our coach can have more time on the training ground with a new style of play, with the squad that he's inherited and the players that we get in. The unfortunate thing for us now is all the injuries that we've picked up, and that's our challenge. Our opportunity, you know, I'd have said at the start of the season, if we go deep into a domestic cup, and there's only been 2 of them, and unfortunately we're out of one already, and we get Europa and playing a more exciting brand of football, not that it's been any harder to play a less exciting brand of football, that to me would have been a good season, in all seriousness. Now, there are opportunities there. I still think it might just be top 4 for Champions League, because I think, and HG is the European expert on the coefficient, that I think if United and Newcastle not doing well in the Champions League this season, it impacts that 5th place. I think it goes somewhere
Early
else.
to tell, though, isn't it? Because ultimately, if Villa win the Conference League, which they should,
Doesn't
That
work like
scores us
that, caller.
points.
no, does that not count?
Doesn't it?
No, I mean, like, it counts, but the point is, like, for example, if Newcastle and Man United finish 4th in their Champions League groups, which could happen, then they won't score any more points for the rest of the season. And so if that is to happen, that's it. Doesn't matter what Villa do, doesn't matter what Liverpool do, doesn't even matter what Man City do, because you'd lose a couple of teams from who are able to get you points. So it's loading up still, but
Not even if
UEFA,
if an English or a Premier League team won all 3 of the European competitions.
No, because it's done on an average. So whatever score England gets, that score is then divided by 8, because there are 8 teams in Europe. And so obviously you want your teams to be in Europe for as long as possible. So if Brighton were to finish 4th in their group, or whoever, if you lost someone at Christmas, you're basically sunk, because whatever the other 3 did, it would be. I mean, it wouldn't be impossible, but considering we've had a ropey start, it would be unlikely that we'd catch up. If you've got the Germans, who, you know, if you get 7 teams through past Christmas, and 2 of them make the quarters, 2 of them make the semis, like, you should still have enough points, because again, you're dividing by 7 rather than 8. What am I wrong about, King Hoddle? You explain it a bit more. But I just if I'm looking at the UEFA page now, England are currently 5th in that table. Turkey are ahead. Turkey are 1st, Belgium are 2nd, Germany, Italy are 3rd and 4th, and then England. But you know, again, like, Turkey may lose points if they, you know, if those clubs get out of Europe quite quickly. But when Galatasaray play Man United, if Galatasaray win that game, like, they get 3 points and they only have to divide their score by 4, whereas we'd have to divide it by 8. So it's quite difficult to catch up when you're, you know, when, like, every
So
point
we need
accrue,
to cheer on United and Newcastle. That's what you're saying.
Like, well, every English fan who wants to see their team in Europe, weirdly enough, kind of has to cheer the English teams on. Certainly before Christmas, but we've had a pretty ropey, you know, European campaign from our teams, because I mean, Villa lost their first game or drew their first game, was it?
Lost the first game, yeah.
So it's just, I mean, those are points that we could, like. It's weird because England usually do it, but we don't have these issues normally with English teams. Like, even Spurs last year, when we were garbage, finished top of the group in the Champions League. So like it's rough because Newcastle have a tough group. That it's not easy to get through that group, but finishing 3rd would continue the chances, because a win in the Europa League, weirdly, is worth the same as a win in the Champions League, and the win in the Conference League. They're all worth the same. Yeah. So, like, if Villa went on to win, that would be great. but I worry that English teams won't do enough because like, even if Man United made it through to February and March, no one expects them to go much further, right? I mean, where they are right now. So I think with Germany and Italy ahead of us, and they only have both of those countries only have 7 teams in Europe. It should, their points will go further in effect. 5th is likely to be enough, but no, only the top 2. Only the top 2 get the Champions League. The top 2 countries get the extra spot in the Champions League. And right now, England aren't in the top 2; they're 5th, and Spain are in 6th. So Spain could catch us up too.
The fact of the matter is,
the groups are out of the way, aren't we?
Yeah, once the groups are done, we have more of an idea. But
I think what King Hoddle's saying, HG, is that 5th place is likely to be enough. That's what the Athletic, Total Football Show, etc.
Yeah, but what are they basing that on? The fact that England have done that for the last 5 out of 6 years.
Basically, yeah. They're not.
So they haven't done their research. I mean, that's not really likely to be enough. But they've got to base it on the fact. Like last year, we only had 7 teams in Europe, right? So every point that we got was divided by 7. This year we've got 8, and we're doing worse. So I don't expect it to happen. I would like it to be the case, but that means cheering on Arsenal, which I don't really want to do. Right? So there's that too. But the way I see it, if 5th becomes Champions League, then we have to be thankful to other teams. I don't want that. I want Spurs to be top 4. I think Villa could easily finish top 4. I actually think 4th is wide open. Like the top 3 right now should finish top 3 in some order. But
Liverpool have been a bit up and down. Liverpool have been very up and down.
No, Liverpool. No, I'm sorry. They've been look. Liverpool. They're the ones who are going to mount any kind of challenge to City. But all I want to say is what other Tottenham YouTube pod content provider can have this expertise on the European coefficient than our man in Vienna? In fact, the students at his school have to do the European coefficient lesson once a week. And he gets it up on us. Come on, kids. This is what we need to do.
You're probably right, actually. You're probably right.
And the fact that you're being challenged and doubted by our loyal cheeseheads we love very much saddens me because HG is the OG when it comes to the European coefficient.
I am putting in the 2 links that I have saved, so I know what I'm talking about.
There we go. I thought it was your screensaver.
And if that's not enough for you, if that's enough for you, hit the like button because I think that knowledge is absolutely worth a like, which costs you nothing at all apart from a second of your time.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've lost 2 of the last 3 Premier League matches at home against Villa. So form is not with us. Injuries are not with us. What's your prediction, Davo? I should say line up first. Sorry. How do you think we're going to line up first? I should say.
Raya in goal. Then we've got obviously we've got our fullbacks back. Thank God for that. Destiny and Pedro. Unfortunately, I am going Dyer and Davis in the middle. Sorry. I think it's too much of a gamble to have both Lo Celso and Bentancur start, given they're not really Premier League match fit. So, and I think Sarr's injured apparently. So, and Basuma's suspended. So, unfortunately, I hate this. It looks like a Højbjerg skip, which is a Nielsen House from the 90s. It really is. I really don't want to see the 2 of them playing together. I don't really want to see Højbjerg in a team. And then I'd rotate through. You could start Bentancur or you start Lo Celso, one or the other, and swap them out. And then up top, I think it pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? What we got? We got Brennan, we got Sonny, and is it Brian Hill or Kulusevski? Kulusevski. That's how it is. Is everyone else is injured or suspended? I haven't missed anyone glaring other than Hill, of course.
Well, HG, there's a clamour for Donnelly to be playing and Dorrington. I mean, I've heard all kinds of nonsense this week. Well, not this week. I've heard it for the last few weeks from various people, including our very own Stuart, saying, we've got to give these youth players a chance. Dave, stop humming. I'm not talking to you. And
I'm just agreeing with you.
I'm going to put you on mute in a minute. And they've got no Premier League experience whatsoever. Insanity or desperation, pick one. I think.
I mean, I understand why Spurs fans don't want to see Dyer again at centre back, because we know that, especially high up the pitch, we're asking for trouble. But if you look at the way that Ange has kind of played it with our centre backs this year, we've had a front two that will play no matter what, and then Dyer's been ahead of Phillips recently. So yeah, it will be Dyer and Davies. I'd be amazed if it isn't. Like if Dorrington had played senior football at any level, if he'd had a month on loan in League One last season or whatever, and the kid's only 18. When I've seen Dorrington play again at youth level, he's not looked that fast either. Yes, he's tall. Yes, he can move maybe a bit faster than Dyer, but I don't see that pace is one of his major positives. So I think we'd be kind of throwing him into something. And I don't, as much as Ange is all about, if I think you're good enough, I'll play you. I think it's clear that he doesn't necessarily think that Dorrington is there yet, and he'll be on the bench like he was for the Wolves game. But I don't think we'll see him unless we really, really have to. And even then, I think Royal would be the first choice to come on if one of our centre-backs got injured. So it strikes me as being, we all hope he's the new Ledley King, but I imagine that Ange doesn't see it that way. I mean, George Graham saw that Ledley King was as good as Ledley King was. Ange, I don't know. I don't think he's there yet. So I understand.
But George Graham also played Alton Thirlwell at the same time as Ledley King. And what happened to him?
I have no idea. But I mean, it's the same with Donnelly. Like we've got midfield is still relatively our strong point. We're only missing Bissouma, right? From midfield. So we've still got Højbjerg and Lo Celso and Bentancur's back, and Sarr might be out, and Skip started the first game of the season. These are guys that have Premier experience. We don't need to be throwing a kid in that area. But I would go with what King says here. It came up earlier. If Sarr is out, those are the three I would do. And I would have Bentancur as the deepest of the three, because I think he's the most press resistant. He's the most likely to be able to help out the centre-backs. And Højbjerg has a decent shot, and Lo Celso can do a bit of everything. It may not be as well as you want, but he is, he doesn't mind, being in defensive areas. He's quite happy to tackle people. He doesn't mind he can keep the ball and move it around. And again, like we haven't seen it at Spurs, but we've seen him do it for other teams, that he can be creative. So as much as Gio is clearly Ange's almost last resort, I think that's the best three. I think that's the best balance. If we're worried a lot about Aston Villa, then you go with probably Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Skip.
Well, you got a left footer and a right footer there as well, haven't you?
Sorry,
you got a left footer in Gio and right footer as well, so it's nice balance.
Yeah, but Maddison wasn't left-footed; he played on the left-hand side.
True.
I mean, the balance helps, but I think like we saw against Wolves, the three we had on that day didn't work because they couldn't progress the ball. Like Højbjerg played in the middle, it stunted Bissouma. Bissouma's not looked very good. Sarr was on the wrong side a lot, and Sarr being the furthest forward to me doesn't really work. I don't, he's kind of like a Jordan Henderson figure where like. He gets around midfield and he makes interceptions, and every now and again he might come up with something in an attacking area, but that's not his game. And so it's I think. But plus, like Bentancur and Højbjerg were amazing together under Conte. That's the only midfield pair that worked in Conte's 3-4-3. Those two work really well. And so if they're on the pitch together, we have more of a chance. But we've got to keep the ball away from Villa. And we've got to have ball players on the pitch to do that.
I can't see. I mean, it's Lo Celso first and foremost, so I would absolutely play Lo Celso. No questions asked. I think he's got to be in that creative role, and you need a creator because otherwise the ball just doesn't progress. It's what we saw away at Wolves, and I think that Højbjerg will play the Bissouma role. Whether or not you like it or not, I think
he shouldn't, but I think he will.
I agree. I would play him higher up the pitch probably, and Bentancur, as you say, is more press resistant. But I think Bentancur will be on the right, and I think that Højbjerg will be deep. I just worry that Bentancur is not quite fit. Lo Celso, I don't really see Dave's concerns. I think he's perfectly fit to play from the start. Bentancur's coming back from a massive injury, so it's a different kettle of fish for me. But those are the three that I think it should be. I don't really want to see Skippy start. Hell, I don't want to see Højbjerg really. But there you go. We've got no choice because Bissouma is a very silly boy. That's what I would say. Right, scoreline prediction then, Davo.
To be optimistic, 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Okay, that's optimism for you. Wow. HG?
I want to relive my worst experience at the old White Hart Lane. Spurs 3, Villa 4.
Is that your real prediction?
Yeah. Spurs 3, Villa 4. 1995. I went to that game.
That was Jerry's first home game. That was.
Was it really? I just remember Graham Fenton.
I think we were 3-0. I think we were 3-0 down. We got it back to 3-0. And is it Dean Saunders scored?
Yeah, last minute. Right in front of me. Yeah. Paxton Road End. I sat there for about 20 minutes and discussed disbelief.
Dean Saunders.
So 4-3 Villa. Like, we can't defend. They say they can't keep a sheet. Why not? 4-3 Villa.
Dean Saunders, another absolutely shocking pundit. Terrible on TalkSport. Anyway, Marlon and Carter, let's have your predictions, please, boys.
Well, I don't know what Dad's going for, but I have gone for the same, a 2-2 draw.
It's very kind of you, Carter.
Yeah.
I definitely see goals in the game. I was going to say 2-1, but the more I think about it and listening to you guys talking about your injury crisis, I think a lot could pivot on sort of the last 15, 20 minutes of the game on what we can bring off the bench. And we've got some really pacey players like Leon Bailey and that we can bring off the bench. And
Tyler will be licking his lips.
I'm not trying to rub it in. I'm just saying, I just think we're going to have a lot of fresh legs we can bring on that are like players. Whereas
you could bring on Longley off the bench as well. I'd like it if you did that. True. Bring on Longley.
Apparently, Diego Carlos is back, so hopefully we won't need to. But it's 2-1 or 3-1 Villa. I feel quite confident. I hate saying. I feel like I'm tempting fate.
I should draw, I reckon.
Can I just ask a question? So your dog that just appeared, what's his or her name?
He's called Roscoe and he's a Frenchie.
Right. Is there any way we can get any prediction out of the dog? Like, you know what, they had that World Cup octopus. Can we try to have this as a new feature? Is there any way we can do this?
Can't be any worse than a sacred cow, let's be honest.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's just rude, isn't it? Come on.
Yeah, while we're waiting for that, did you see on the Sky Sports News today, they announced that Oscar Pistorius has been granted his parole and he's being released in January. You know, the Blade Runner?
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Well, in honour of him today, there's a blade.
Wow, look at that.
Fantastic. Wow.
Look at that.
Carter's an amputee, so he has prosthetic legs.
Okay.
Yes.
And he always has an Aston Villa league.
There he is.
That is insane. That is fantastic.
That's cool, isn't
it? How are we going to get Roscoe to do a prediction? Does he bark ever?
He does bark a lot, but he wouldn't bark at this time. Oh my God, you dropped him down.
How many times he falls on the floor or bounces?
It's the prediction. It's the prediction. We might get into trouble for that, won't we? Right, okay. Roscoe, what's the score going to be? Nothing.
No. 0-0 then.
No, well, to be honest, we get more sense out of Roscoe than some other panelists. But anyway, moving on. Anyway, back to the host.
Do you want my prediction, Davo?
Well, back to the host, yes.
Oh, okay. I think you're all negative Nancy's. I think we're going to win. I think Oliver Skip's going to pop up with the winner in the 91st minute.
Own goal.
We're going to win 2-1. 2-1. Telling you now. 2-1. I think a close game. Villa will give it their all, but I think Dyer's got Watkins in his pocket. That's what I see. I see Vicario barely being called into action, but when he does, he's heroic. Porro's going to score. He's going to score a rocket from outside the area. Old Pedro Porro. And I think Sonny will continue his very good vein of form against Villa and score the winner. So yeah, and Oliver Skip, that was just a fantasy of mine for him scoring the winner. It's probably not going to happen. So yeah, I'm going to say 2-1. We're going to win. Because one of us has got to be a little bit more positive than you two are portraying. I mean, you're being far too realistic.
But Dave said a draw. That's quite positive. We've got 7 people out plus 2 suspended.
A draw's not positive, is it?
Sorry, Carter.
We need John Carter. Sorry.
If you don't want realistic, then I'll go 7-0.
There you go. Good answer.
Brilliant.
I
Very good
reckon
answer.
It is a good answer.
We've all looked at too much TalkSport over the years and thought realistic shouldn't be important. Like, you're a pundit, don't need to be realistic. Just say what's going to get the most views. 7-0 Villa. Well done, Carter.
it could literally be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, none of us know.
It's not going to be 7-0.
It's so unpredictable. It could be boring 0-0, or as you said,
Won't be 0-0.
5-5.
Won't be
It won't be nil. It won't be
Highland
nil.
Derby.
No way.
Won't be
We've also
0-0.
got a cat, so we might make a prediction.
You never know what to expect.
I'm just worried that we're going to get caught on the counter a lot. If I was making a realistic prediction, I'd say Villa 3-1, but I'm not going to do that. GLC will prove himself once again useless. There we go.
Next level English, a bit negative tonight. Come on, next level.
I think it's your alter ego, Dave, if I'm being really
next
honest.
level. You reckon?
Lots of fluff about Daniel Levy and GLC and Skip and various other. It's you. You're trolling me.
I'm not. I'd never
Right,
do that.
let's talk about elsewhere in the Premier League. Man City versus Liverpool. That's a big game, isn't it? How's that going to go, Dave? Let's predict the scores.
Are we going to go Roscoe every time as well?
Not every time.
Right, okay. Man City, Liverpool. Is Haaland out? Is he injured? Do we know?
Like, he was injured for Norway, but I think he's fit.
Yeah, no, I think he's all right now.
Surprise, surprise. I think and Rodri's out, isn't he?
I don't know.
No, I think he's got like a minor injury.
Okay, all right. I think this is a tough game. This is a very tough game to predict. I think City will just narrowly squeeze it 2-1. There'll be a VAR controversy and Klopp will demand a replay.
Okay. HG?
3-1 Liverpool.
Blimey.
Oh.
Man City, Liverpool.
Yeah, I know. So Liverpool's midfield at the moment is just so good at the moment. They've got Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, and like I said, I reckon they're going to smash them 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay.
1-0.
Hello.
1-0.
Typical dad response. 1-0.
I'll go with the 2-2 draw. I think it'll be a Desmond. Burnley, West Ham. No one cares about that really, but Dave, anyway.
They do actually. It's the Battle of the Clarets. It's a very important game in the footballing calendar. Thank you very much. So you've got
West Ham trying to make a derby from out of something again.
Well, I think yes, that's right. So Vincent Kompany, as we all know, was signed up to be the new Tottenham coach, according to our ITK. So I think that I don't know, 1-1. I don't think the game will be that lit, as the youngsters like to say. I like that expression. Thank you for that, Carter.
Yeah.
I think the scoreline is what we see in front of us. Burnley 15, West Ham 0.
Very good. Look at you. Oh, nice improv.
Nice one, Roscoe.
2-0 West Ham.
Burnley will nick a 1-0 win. All right.
That's right. Down with West Ham. We hate West Ham.
That's her fault.
I hate West Ham.
I think Burnley will get a cheeky win as well. I really do.
Yeah.
Luton 10 versus Palace, Davo.
15-0.
Luton aren't from the east end of London, from Bedfordshire, so I don't know where 10 came from. Luton v Palace.
My brother-in-law's a Luton fan, and that's how he speaks. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Palace Luton is a big journey from the south of London up to Bedfordshire. Let me tell you, they should get on the Thames link. That's my advice. I think Palace should win 1-0.
HG.
Luton home win. I want Luton to win, so I'll say they'll win 2-1.
Okay.
And I reckon everyone's going to be saying like, Luton will probably Luton might get a result. They're underrated. They might get a result against Crystal Palace. It's a controversial game. Oh, let's be realistic. Palace will batter them 4-0.
Yeah, I'll go with that 4-0.
I could bet on that tomorrow. I could 10 on it.
Well, hang on. We can't have underage gambling on here.
Come
on. Move on.
I'm going to say Luton are going to win. Sneaker win. 1-0, 2-1, something like that.
Could you give us your Luton accent one more time before we go on to the next one?
Luton 10. Newcastle versus Chelsea.
The old common ownership derby, because we know that Newcastle got a stake in Chelsea via those
sports washing derby.
The sports washing derby, the sports ownership, the conflict of interest derby. What's going to happen here? By the time the Chelsea fans get to sit in their seats up Mount Vesuvius, Newcastle they'll win 3-1.
Okay.
Can I go 15-0 again? Is that joke done? It's of course.
Can't do that again.
I think Newcastle will win, but tight 1-0.
Okay.
Dad, I'll let you take this one.
3-1.
And then I'll do it. Get the right prediction done.
Go on, 3-1.
Chelsea have had a couple of games where they've got a few good results against Man City and Spurs.
Yeah, but Spurs had 9 men.
Exactly.
And to be honest, played out of their skin. So.
Chelsea have just had proper pure luck for the past few weeks. And Newcastle are a proper upcoming team that in 3 or 4 years will be playing regular Champions League football. 2-0 Newcastle. Yeah.
That means you, Caller. You're up next.
Is that the thinking phase?
Did he fall asleep?
No, that's... Oh, hello. He's gone. He was thinking, and he's thinking.
Switching cams. I think that Newcastle will scrape it. I think they'll win 2-1. That's what I think. Forest versus Brighton.
Okay, it's the usual long-running gag that no one ever remembers when I'm on. The Forest will win 3-1. Serge Aurier hat-trick.
Forest can't score for Toffee now that Taiwo, what's-his-face, is no longer fit. So I'll go Brighton to win 1-0.
Yeah, same. Brighton 1-0.
Yeah, Brighton are on the team. I can see there being goals, but I reckon 1-0.
Brighton will win 3-1.
That's realistic.
Deserving might get sent off for being abused. Okay, Sheffield United versus Bournemouth, Davo.
Game.
That's another big journey for those Bournemouth fans, all the way from the coast up to Yorkshire. Big trip. Sheffield United are possibly going to be the worst team ever in the Premier League. Bournemouth will win 1-0.
Home win. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in England tomorrow, but every time I watch Premier League, it seems to be pissing down the whole time.
Cold, just cold.
So Sheffield cold, Bournemouth, they don't like it up them. Is Sheffield United the new Stoke? Do you know what I mean?
It's further
Sheffield
north.
United to win 2-0.
1-0.
Yeah, they're both crap teams, aren't they?
Yeah.
So just 0-0. No goals, boring game, they're rubbish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sheffield United will win this one, I think. Scraper 1-0 win, I think. Brentford Arsenal, Davo?
I just want to point out to HC that he can change his improv joke here if he wants to. Brentford versus the Gooners. I think the Gooners will win 1-0, 115th minute winner.
What? So the World Cup final?
1-1.
Yeah, 1-1.
It's a derby, isn't it? So anything can happen.
No, Brentford's in North London. Sorry, Carl. That's a joke for Spurs fans only. Yeah, it is the derby. It is a derby.
So anything can happen, but Yeah, Arsenal were 2-0.
Sadly, the Goons will win aplomb 3-1.
Aplomb.
Right, Monday games.
Sunday.
Sunday, Spurs versus Villa. We've covered Everton versus United. Davo.
Everton cruelly robbed 10 points by the FA Premier League due to financial irregularities. They must be feeling very upset about the whole thing. Manchester United going from one crisis to another. 0-0.
Will never happen to us being dot points for financial fair play. HG.
2-0 Everton.
2-0 Manure.
Everton have always been put. Man U at the moment a bum, so nothing special. Just a Man U 2-0 win. It's Everton, isn't it? Should be looking forward to going in that game, even if they are put.
United should win, but they won't. 1-0 Everton. No, I haven't done a draw yet. Let's go 1-1. Fulham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, Davo.
This type of game, I'd be very worried for our viewing figures on Monday night at the excitement of Fulham versus Wolves versus the great content that we produce here on the Cheese Room, reviewing the Villa game. 1-0 Fulham. Carlos Vinicius, 2 yards out. Goal.
If Spurs do get slaughtered, watching Fulham Wolves might be a better deal than listening to us talk about it.
True.
I on it, like, this is probably the game I really care absolutely nothing about. All the others I might be interested in watching, but Fulham versus Wolves just feels like. But considering Wolves beat us and deserve to beat us, I will go for Wolves to win 3-0.
1-0 Fulham, but again, I'm not interested either.
Same as Dad, but it's just difficult. It's like two average teams, lower side of the average, more like shit side. But
what's your prediction, Carl?
I don't know. I'm still thinking. That's why they came to me last. 1-0.
Okay.
My dad being a Wolves season ticket holder, I should probably plumb for Wolves. I actually think Wolves are much the better side.
Is that because you're from Birmingham area, Caller, that he's a Wolves season ticket holder?
No. But if you'll let me, he was brought up in Woolwich, actually, HG.
So he's a gooner.
That explains so much.
Charlton Athletic, actually. But there you go. And played for Millwall, but that's another story. Wolves should win, but I hate them after robbing 3 points off us. So I'm going to go for a Fulham win. 1-0. There we go. 1-0. Because Wolves can't stick it in the onion bag. There is time to touch on the big story this week. The FA desperately seeking to equalise, to give a points deduction to everybody, it seems. They've dug up 2018, the Times have dug up, I should say, a 2008 transfer. Jermaine Defoe, Harry Redknapp was in charge. Davo, talk us through it. It's not your era, obviously. Your era's many eras before this, but it's probably more fresh in the mind than some of the other stuff.
Can I just first of all give myself a pat on the back, because I'm really getting good on the snipping tool, snipping stuff off the internet and putting it onto a slide. And I think that slide's my best work that there's ever been. I'm patting myself on the back. You got the headline and you got the picture. I'm sorry. I know that JP does this for a living.
If you're happy with that, then I don't know what to say to you.
Well, it's not my strength, but it's all about it being a team player that I am. Look, the reality, in the situation is, I don't see why they don't hold a seance with Fred Beardman and ask him about the transfer between Inter Milan and Jimmy Greaves, 1962. The fact of the matter is that what we know of Daniel Levy and was on the website is that he's very a passionate advocate for the implementation of FFP into the Premier League. And when you've got a situation where City have got 115 charges, City fans have got a poster and a banner in their stadium about their lawyer, which says all about that support than you ever know, then you are going to get into dirty tactics campaign. And so no doubt someone's tipped off someone somewhere, and they're looking in, and the reporters come up with this thing about the fact that we breached FA rules. We used an unlicensed agent whose name is Mitchell Thomas, who also didn't hold a license playing left back for us in the 1987 FA Cup final, which was bloody awful, but against Dave Bennett. And you know, the thing is, if the game that we're playing as a strategy is to get everyone done for FFP, to give us a level playing field, which is Levy's strategy, you've got to come into it squeaky clean. It's ridiculous that we're looking at this from 2008. But I think this came as a result. I think there was a court case between Defoe and his old agent's guy, Andrew. He wasn't involved in the deal, so it's all coming from that as well. If we're going to get a points deduction for 2008, then as Daniel Levy said, we've got our Tottenham back because Irving Scholar got us a points deduction when Sugar took over. So there we go. See what happens.
HG, do you really see Spurs being deducted points for this?
There are lots of things I don't see happening that end up happening in football. No, I think it's just noise. They're trying to divert attention away from other things. But would I be surprised if it happened? Also, no. I mean, it's clear that Spurs don't have many friends in football, and you know everyone's favourite punch bag. So it's the type of thing that if it happened, the rest of the league would just laugh. Oh, Spurs, it happens to Spurs always. But yeah, I mean, it's no. I mean, I can't see it, but it does feel like everything has gone off Everton all of a sudden. Like, I mean, like, granted, I obviously I don't, because I don't live there, I don't read everything, but it feels like the Everton decision was made, Evertonians are upset, and everyone else is kind of like, oh, that was harsh, but they've moved on. And they're trying. Sorry?
That's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, and so they're looking for something else. And so, you know, sooner or later, you'll get George Graham's brown envelopes coming back into the.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
News. But,
yeah, the old Sheringham. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Marlon, do you think Spurs will get dot points?
Not for that. I think it's one of them, innit? The journos are just going to be digging up any old thing now, just so they've got something to print, aren't they? All on the back of the Everton one. If they don't actually know what's going on somewhere, they have to just dig up a load of crap. And you read any journo story that uses the word could, and you may as well just stop reading. As soon as you see that word could, Villa could be signing this player. Well, that's not news, is it? You know what I mean? It's not news. If it says could, it's not news. So I don't bother.
No.
If it said did or has, you know what I mean, then it's worth reading.
There you go, Carter. You've got a big fan there.
There you go.
Thanks, Ash. Ash is not wrong, by the way. Ash is not wrong.
No, Ash Carter's done a great job. We've got another social media star in
right.
taking that.
Oh, you're in there, mate.
There's time to remind you. You can join the action over on Patreon, patreon.com/the Cheeseheads podcast. I'm not sure why I'm on the slide. Dave, obviously holding the microphone, looking very suave, has no relevance whatsoever apart from he is wearing the shirt that you get after a 6-month qualification period. Do join. You get the access to our chat group, prizes and discounts. We've got a good link in with football prizes, exclusive content, Cheeseheads merch, fantasy football, £3 a month. You support the show, you'd be very welcome over at the Cheese Room. So do consider that. I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining. Marlon Carter, first of all, thanks very much for joining this evening.
Thanks for having us.
And I hope you're miserable Sunday.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
We normally are away from home, so it is what it is.
HG, as ever, thanks for joining us all the way from Vienna.
Yeah, you're welcome. I enjoyed it. Can we play Villa every week? This is much better than normal.
Summary.
Davo, you need to work on your lighting. I can't see the left-hand side of your face.
Yeah, no, I put new blinds in whilst I was away. So it's all about the mood.
How'd you manage that?
How did you do that when you were away?
You know, it's called delegating and outsourcing. Thank you very much.
You got your kids to do it. That's what it means.
Yeah.
No, there's no. That's not happening. They'd be too busy having a party here whilst I'm away, more like. Yeah, lovely to be back on. Marlon, Carter, Roscoe, props, respect, as the kids would say. HG, love to be back on the show with you again. Caller, You're slightly less taller in real life than the last time I saw you. So you might.
I am not. I am not. That's not true.
Look at the sweater he's put on.
That's not true. What?
You and
You're
your left
staying
arm.
on,
Getting a badge in there.
Stony. Right, on that bombshell. Come on, you Spurs.
He's trying to be
do
Isaac.
it. We can win. We can get there. We can do it. Absolutely. With a threadbare side, who's going to stop us? Eric Dyer? Ha! Legend at the back. Let's hope Longley plays for them. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
Good night,
you Spurs.
Ah.